interviews.
Wow.
Results.
Wow.
And I have passed my share. I have filled my share, and I will be very happy to share with you my experiences over the last 16 years. So
Awesome.
we're talking about winning interview tips. We're discussing the things that we can have at our hands, the things that we can learn, the ideas we can incorporate to our interviews so that we can get those jobs that we are applying for. Many of us are young in our careers or at middle stage of our career, and we're trying to change jobs, we're trying to get new jobs, we're trying to grow, trying to move to the next level. And the way you get a new job or the way you move to the next job, even within the same organization sometimes, is to sit for an interview and prove to the organization or to the recruiting managers that you are a worthy candidate for the job. So in that process, you either get the job or you don't get the job for many reasons. But today we're going to try to talk about the things you could do that will help ensure that you have an upper hand in your search for the job. So this is divided into two sections. The first section will be the pre-interview tips, things you need to do to prepare yourself for the interview. And then the other section will be the basic principles of interviews themselves. At the end of this discussion, we will have a question segment. However, if you find me moving too fast or if you need me to clarify anything I've said, please feel free to stop me as we proceed. Okay, so let's start with part one. So congratulations, you've been shortlisted for an interview. Now what? I'm sure many of us have got this message severally. Congratulations, you have been shortlisted for an interview, or you are invited for an interview at XYZ company on so dates. What now? Now that you have the invitation, now that you have been called for the interview, what are the steps you take to ensure that you get the job at the end of the day? We're going to start by looking at the pre-interview steps. So you got a message saying you've been shortlisted for an interview. The message can come via a text message, a WhatsApp message, an email, or a phone call. So when you get that message, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have a genuine message. That's because for those of us, I'm sure most of us live in Nigeria. You know exactly what our economy and our environment is like and how dangerous our brothers who are into the 419 business are. They are also coming after unemployed graduates or newly employed people or young people looking for jobs to take advantage of us. So it's very important you make sure that you have a genuine message. Many companies will come out and say, we did not advertise for these job roles that you are seeing online. And I'm aware of certain persons or certain situations where people went to a hotel to attend an interview and they were duped. So make sure your message is genuine. Make sure the call is genuine. There are different ways to check that. But I will move forward to say you must acknowledge any invite for an interview. If someone calls you to say that you've been invited for an interview, you need to be able to confirm to the person, I will attend the interview. It's really important that you do that acknowledgement because it shows that you are available for the interview one. It also tells them that you are formally signing in, so they are obliged to attend to you when you show up for the interview. Now you need to read through the invite very carefully, especially if it's a mail or a text message, to ensure you have the following information, that you get the date right. And I have met people who miss the interview because they got the date wrong. It's really very funny. You think they are not desperate for the job. Some people miss it because they don't check the dates, they don't check the time, they don't check the venue or the formats. You know, these days we have different formats of interviews. Interviews can be online, can be virtual, it can be by phone, and it can be physical. So make sure you have the format of venue, and then make sure that the role that you are interviewing for is clear. I got to an interview before where I'm going to be sharing a lot of my past experiences. I attended an interview where I had applied for the role of a finance analyst, and they were interviewing me for the role of an internal auditor, and they did not tell me in advance. So when the interview started, they said this role is for internal auditor. I was like, when did I apply for auditor job? And what happened was that the CFO noticed that I had audit experience, and he was looking for an auditor. So instead of selecting me for the job I applied for, he put my name under internal audit, and HR did not bother to get back to me that we were selecting you for internal audit until I sat in front of the panel. Fortunately, the skills were there to convince the panel that I can still do the job. And eventually I got that job. But imagine the shock. So make sure that the job you are being interviewed for is the job you applied for. HR can also make mistakes. They are humans. But you need to be clear so that you won't sit in front of a panel and start throwing engineering questions at you when you're an accountant. It's really very important to get that clear. So, I mean, if it's a call, you make sure you get all these details from the caller, the recruiter, to make sure you get your details correct. Also confirm if you are required to pre-register. I've gone for interviews before where, before you can, because the building is probably a skyscraper or something like that, there are hundreds of offices within that same building. You must pre-register before you get into the building. So if you have that kind of situation, you need to confirm to HR that you will be there by so time, so that HR can put your name on the register. Otherwise, you get to the entrance of the building and security will not let you in, and you may end up being late for the interview. So if there's a pre-registration requirement, if you go to places like Mobile, if your name is not on their register, you're not getting in. So if you don't have the number of the person who called you, or if you don't have any way of communicating with them, you will miss that interview. So if it's a situation where you need to register, make sure you get there on time and make sure that you have communicated with each other when you will be there so that they can log you in. And then certain interviews will require that you bring some things along. CVs, certificates, it could be anything. Just make sure that you have read the information correctly and that you have the items that you are required to bring along. Again, I have met people at interviews where you are required to bring maybe your passport or ID, and they get there and say, I don't have it. And they're simply not allowed to do the interview because it was mentioned in the mail, but the person either forgot or was not careful enough to check that he had taken all the necessary documents. So it's extremely important that you go through your invites, make sure everything that's required, you have met the minimum requirements so that you can go in for the interview. Now, interviews in this day and age can be virtual, audio, or physical. That's thanks to technology. When we started working in those days, there's nothing like virtual interview and there's nothing like phone interview. You have to be there physically. So in this day and age, you can sit down in the comfort of your own bedroom and attend an interview. And that's a good thing, especially with this coronavirus that we're dealing with. Many companies would prefer you don't come to their premises until they are sure they really want to talk to you. So you find that first stage interviews may sometimes be virtual. They may say, you know, let's have this interview on Zoom. Maybe when you are meeting the senior management people is when you finally come to the premises. I know somebody in a telecom company in Nigeria who, up until I spoke with her around August or September, she had been recruited since April or May, and she had never entered the office of the company because they were on lockdown. Wow. Yes, she was recruited. She was introduced to the team. All her access was given to her, and she has started working for like 3 or 4 months and had never entered the office of the company. So it's not unusual to have an online interview these days, and that's actually a preferred mode of interviewing. Now, there are several benefits to having an online interview. I think one of the biggest benefits is that you get to control your environment. You get to control your environment. This is really very important. Imagine going to an environment where you don't know the place or you don't know the people. You get in there, they're all waiting for you. It's their own environment. They are ready for you. You're like a sheep in the midst of wolves because you are just not too comfortable. The office may be too cold or too warm for you. The people may be looking hard or something. But if it was a virtual interview, you are in your comfort of your own chosen environment to meet with them. There's a certain level of home advantage that you get. It's like playing on your own field. You get to be the one to say, no, This is how I want to sit. They're not going to tell you sit down here. You choose where you want to sit. You choose where kind of lighting you want, kind of temperature you want in the room. You can even have a glass of water or something beside you, and nobody's making you uncomfortable. So if you have an opportunity for an online interview, see it as an advantage because you have the home advantage in dealing with them. But the rule here is that you control the environment. If you have a virtual or online interview, make sure you control the environment. You cannot afford to have an interview where the interviewers are looking at their screen and they are looking into your room and it looks as though a tornado just passed through the room, or everywhere is upside down, or they are seeing skulls or funny things in the background. During this coronavirus period, some of the anchors on CNN had to create special backgrounds for themselves so that they could work from home. And they did this because they wanted to hide their personality. Imagine a guy with a pink chair. He might be thinking these people think I'm gay or something. So he would want, and if that's not what he is, he wants to change the background. So many of them sit behind walls or makeshift libraries or big TV screens, stuff like that, so that people really don't get an insight into who they are. In fact, I realized that I was always looking at their background too, trying to see what kind of environment was this person in, until they started joking about it too amongst themselves, that I changed my background so that you cannot decipher anything about me that I don't want you to know, just because you can see into my home. It's the same way with an interview. If you have a virtual interview, you have to set up a background that probably projects what you want to show them. If you have a library in your house, or if you know somebody that has a library and you can have access to the house, go and sit there in front of the let books be showing in the background. Make sure that the place looks decent and attractive, and decent. Let the lighting be good. Not that everywhere will be dark and they cannot see your eyes and your teeth. People like me that are very dark, I cannot afford to have an interview in a dark room. All they will be seeing is the teeth and the eyes. So you need to create the kind of environment that makes them just as if you were in front of them, and you need to dress for it. Don't say because it is a virtual interview, they will only see your face. You're not going to wear singlets. Something will happen that you will move and they will see that this guy is not wearing anything other than singlet. Wear a shirt, wear a tie, wear a jacket, even if you're wearing only boxers under it. But the part that they see, let it look professional. So control your environment, make sure lighting and everything is okay. Also have backup power, like Bamidele is dealing with right now. Have backup power. You cannot trust these people. Don't let them damage your opportunities. So don't put yourself at the mercy of PHCN that they will be good. It's just not their way. Make sure you have backup power. Also have backup internet or internets. If you have two networks on your phone, make sure that you have data on both. You don't want a situation where network will fail and then you feel you miss your interview. You need to be as prepared as if you were there physically. So have all the backups in place. Also, let me just, I think I'll finish this section. Okay, there's still a few things to talk about in this section. You need to have a mindset about an interview that the interview is a two-way street. Many times we assume that we are trying to get a job. We forget that the company is trying to get an employee. We look at it from the perspective of, I must get this job, I need this job. But they need an employee, otherwise they will not advertise. They are not a charitable organization like Family is running right now, who just want to help people. They will pay you for the services that you're going to render. So they need to make sure that you are the right person for their company. And if that is the case, they are also looking for somebody, just as you are trying to decide whether, just as you are trying to get them to employ you, they're also trying to decide whether you are the right person for them. So interviewing is a selling activity. You are either selling yourself or selling your skills or selling your past experience, but you are selling something to the company. And you have to have that in mind, that you are here to sell something. You are not here to beg. You are here to offer a service. And then you now approach the interview with the mindset that I am here to do this for you, not I'm here to plead with you to consider me for the role. The minute you go with that approach, the attitude that you will get is a condescending attitude. You need to go with the confidence that I have something to offer if you guys are willing to buy what I'm putting on the table. Also, you have to be confident to do that. If you are desperate for the job, you may want to adopt a different approach. But if you have a job and you're comfortable where you are, and another job is there, you're going for another job interview, you need to just let them know, come, this is not a do or die affair. And I'm not saying go with that attitude, but have it in mind that you are not desperate for this job. It gives you an advantage of assessing the company and deciding whether or not you really want to work for them. I have a friend who went for an interview in a bank whose name I shall not mention. And this was many years ago anyway, they may have changed now. He was supposed to have an interview at 3 p.m. and as at 10 p.m. he was still in the waiting room for this interview because they didn't have time for them. The GM he was supposed to see was too busy. And he was not the only one. At 10 o'clock, my friend got up and left.
Wow.
He had a job and he still waited from 3 to 10. Do you know what it means to wait from 3 to 10 for a job interview? Some companies do not respect you. They do not respect your time. If they do that to you before you apply before you get the job, they will do worse when you get the job. It's an indication of where you are going, the culture, the practice. So the best thing you want to do is make sure that while you are doing the interview, you assess the place too. Assess the company too and decide, do I really want to work for these people? I mean, yes, you may be desperate for a job, but there are some jobs you get and you start asking yourself, who sent me? What did I do? What did I do to myself? And I've taken one of those jobs in my career too, so I know. So during the interview, you get to assess whether you really want to work for them and if they are really the kind of people you want to work for. So it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way thing. You're not begging for a job. You are also trying to decide whether or not you want to work for them. Now, before you go for the interview, there are some things you need to do. The first thing is research. You must research the company very well. Research the company very, very well. Imagine going for an interview in a place like PZ Customs, and they ask you, do you know any of our products? You say, oh, I love Dettol. Dettol is a fantastic soap. I use it every day. My parents use it. Ever since I was a child, that's what I've always used. And you declare your love for Dettol and how much of it you consume in your household. And then when you finish, they'll tell you, we don't produce Dettol here. We produce Premier. And you have already told them you've never used any other soap apart from Dettol. The chances that you will not get that job. Very strong chances that they will offer you a job because you have been supporting their competition for a long time in your household. So you want to be sure that you know who they are and what they do. Do not mistake the company you're interviewing for their you're interviewing with for their competition. It is a very bad mistake to make. You need to read recent publications or mentions of them in the news. What has been happening in this company? And sometimes that helps you decide, do I even want to go for this interview? When you hear that the company has just laid off 500 people, which is 25% of their staff, because they're not doing well, and they're not asking you to come, you have to ask yourself, in what capacity am I coming? And what is the likelihood that I will have a job in 6 months? So read recent publications about them. If there's something new happening in their company, it will be good for you to go to during the interview and ask them, how does this affect your business? I read this, I read that, I read that. It shows that you are really interested in them. If you have access to their past performance, please also make sure that you read it. It helps you speak to the competence of the company, to the size, to the strength of the company. So when they say, why do you want to work with us? You can tell them something about, I noticed that over the last couple of years, you have been growing year on year by X% this year, X% that year. And this growth indicates a very strong company with very good systems. And that's what I want to identify with. Because you have researched them, you will know all these things and you'll be able to use it to sell yourself during the interview. But if you have no information about them, you don't know what you're going to get into. It's also important to note that if you have a friend in the company, and most of us have people in different places, and that friend is giving you certain information, and that information is not available in the public domain, please do not use that to campaign during your interview. You can end up going from there to the police station if you're not careful, because that's insider trading. Somebody is selling in their information unofficially. So make sure that whatever information that you are using is information that you got from the public domain, whether on the internet or they are published financial statements, or any other public source that anybody could have reasonably had access to without an insider providing that information. Then, if there are any regulatory requirements that affect them, make sure you know about it. When I say, I'm not saying go and start doing research to the extent of knowing what the laws say about their company, but if anything new has happened in the country, for example, in February this year, there was a change in the Finance Act, which resulted in the increase of our value-added tax to 7%. Now, 7.5%. Now, when value-added tax went up to 7.5%, certain companies were exempted. For example, Flour Mills of Nigeria, which are the largest source of flour in the whole country. So if you were going for an interview with Flour Mills, you should be able to ask them, so this is your exemption from VAT going forward. How has it impacted your business? It shows that you are aware of the things that are going on in the company. It shows that you know what's going on in the country and how it affects them, and that you are curious enough to research the company. This is very, very good when it comes to projecting yourself as a prospective candidate for the job. Know their competition as well. This may not be information you use during the interview, but it helps you understand the landscape in which they play. And then if you can get information about their culture, it's extremely important, because when you know the values of a company, it helps you decide whether you fit into their environment. It also helps you sell yourself to them. I'll give you an example. A company like Lafarge PLC. Lafarge is a cement manufacturer, one of the largest cement manufacturers in the world. If you are going for an interview in Lafarge and you come into the premises, you will see the markings of where you can walk and where you cannot walk. And that's because they have safety protocols in place. If you are caught walking where you are not supposed to walk, the security guard and any staff that comes across you has a right to send you back to the gate to be properly guided and tailored back into the reception the way you should have gone. If that happens, the chances are you will not get that job, because their culture is very heavy on safety. So they expect you to follow safety protocols. So when they say this is where you are supposed to walk, if you walk anywhere else, very likely anybody in the company will confront you, and that's not a good first impression to make in the organization. So if you can get information about the culture of the company, please do. We say Google is your friend. There's no information, there's almost nothing that you won't find online these days. If you Google a company, you find all the reasonable information about them. Even if you go to Nairaland, you get people's opinion about the company, and there are other sites that gives you ratings about companies. So feel free to research the company. The other thing you need to research is the job description. Assuming that you are aware and you have confirmed that the job you applied for is the one they're interviewing for and there are no mistakes, you need to research that job role. Even if it's a job you are doing currently, how do they do it in their own company? What are the key requirements according to their job description if they gave you a JD? If they did not give you a JD, go online and look for a JD for that job and see the requirements for that job, especially if you're a fresh graduate who hasn't worked before, so you don't have any work experience and therefore you do not understand how that job is done. You only have the academic knowledge, not the practical experience. Go online and look for a job description for that kind of role in that kind of company or similar companies, and assess what is required and prepare yourself to deal with questions that will come from it. It makes sure that you are prepared to answer questions. Pick your CV, pick the job description if you are experienced, and start matching the things you've done that are in alignment with the job description to show that, yes, I've been doing similar things, I have experience in this area. You need to match them and be able to say, when the discussion starts, you'll be able to tell them, I know this job requires this, and this is what I've been doing. I know I'm supposed to do this, and I've already learned how to do it. It's part of selling yourself. It's part of the preparation that you must do. You need to do a detailed research into the company. Check similar job roles in other organizations and develop possible interview questions and perfect answers. If you are going for an interview, you need to anticipate the questions that they will ask you. And it's important that you actually do this as if you are interviewing yourself before the interview. I've gone for an interview before, and one of my hundreds of interviews where Before the interview, I went online and I Googled that role and I got possible interview questions for that role. I prepared standard answers for those questions in my head. I wrote them down, I crammed it, I was ready for it. I went for the interview, and the entire panel was asking me the exact questions I Googled online because that panel had gone to Google those questions. And they've seen the answers there. And those same answers I was giving them, as they were asking the question, even the order in which they were asking the question, I knew that they went to download the same thing that I downloaded. So I was ready for them. In fact, that job, before I got back to my office after the interview, somebody I knew inside had already told me that my CV had reached the CFO table that I had been chosen for the job. Because I had all the answers. Why? Because we were doing the research in this from the same source. So it's extremely important that you develop the question, you go search for the questions that can be asked and predict the answers so that you are ready to deal with it if those questions come up or similar questions come up. It's necessary preparation. And finally, research your own CV. Ordinarily, we should not have to tell you this, but unfortunately, I have met a few candidates. You know, in my career, for the first half of my career, I was the candidate. And then for the second half, I've been the one interviewing people. And so help me God, I have seen some interesting people who mix up their own birthdays and their own age and their own year of graduation and the number of years they spent in certain jobs, because some of this information is not true. And under pressure, under questioning, they start to crack and mix things up. You must know what is in your CV. It's simply not excusable. It's an integrity issue. The minute you start saying something that contradicts what is in your CV, there's an integrity issue and very likely you've lost that job. So if you have said in your CV that I studied in this school from this year to this year, you must be ready to quote that when they ask you to talk about your education. If you say you work in this company, you must be ready to talk about what is done in that company. You must know their products. You must know what they do if you've ever worked there. If you said you are X age, if you give yourself an age, that age is the same age you must be quoting when they're talking about your life history. I know of an interview where they sat down with somebody and they started calculating for him. They brought out the calculator for him. You said you have had X experience in this company, X number of years experience in that company. What year did you graduate? They backed out his experience from the year he graduated. It turns out that the guy graduated when he was 5 years old. He graduated when he was 5 years old. That's what his CV is saying. Because the experience he's saying he has, the year he went to school, by the time you add everything together and back it out from his age, it's not adding up. It's not adding up. So you need to know what you have put there. And finally, you must ensure that there are no errors and no grammatical errors or spelling errors in your CV. It's before they meet you, the CV is what they meet first, and they must have the right first impression about you. If your CV is ripe with grammatical errors, it's already indicating that you may not be a person that's very attentive to details, and many jobs require proper attention to details. Okay, so that's the end of the first section. The preparation for the interview. We have said you need to do research. This is really very important. First of all, prepare yourself, confirm the interview, make sure the venue and everything, you know them correctly. Then do the research. Research the company, research the job description, and research your own CV to make sure that there are no issues in your CV that can cost you a good job. So let's go to the second part. So I'm doing on time. Okay. So we're going to be discussing about 4 different sections in the second part. The first one is time management. So when it comes to attending interviews, and I know many of us know these things, but it's just important that we emphasize it. The rule is to arrive 10 to 15 minutes earlier. That's what everybody says. But nothing stops you from arriving even earlier than that, especially if your interview is in a place like Lagos. Do not plan to arrive 10 minutes or 15 minutes early for an interview in Lagos. I beg you. Arrive earlier than 15 minutes because Lagos has a way of changing like weather. The road that is free now, just one breakdown, everywhere can get blocked.
Hello today. Hello Tunde. Okay. I think our facilitator went off. Probably the same issue that occurred to me earlier when power went off. I think that's what happened to him also. So whilst we are waiting for our facilitator to join back, please, in the chat section, if it's possible for you to just share your questions for our facilitator. For those asking for the soft copy of the presentation, please send me a mail on hello@getjobs.ng. hello@getjobs.ng. I've sent the email address on the chat box. Just send me a mail for the soft copy. And thank you so much for the members that have joined from Nigerian Society of Engineers. Thank you so much. So please, questions, and questions. Whatever kind of question that you may have, please share on the chat box. So our facilitator just told me that he's logging in back. So he'll join us shortly. I know it's power. So please, questions, whatever questions you might have on interview and also on CV, you can just share it on the chat box. Yes. So our facilitator, I just added him back now. Tunde.
Sorry.
The same thing that happened to me.
Yes, I've won those that are doing interviews online. Where I come from, we have a saying, you can see network in the way it's behaving already. So if you are going to actual interview, please have a backup. I just connected to my backup network now. So make sure you have a backup, please. All right, so I'm going to share the screen again. All right, so yes, so I was on time management. So I was saying that if you are able to get in early, even 1 hour early, if you can afford to get that much time, please by all means go ahead and get in as early as possible. Take into consideration traffic and everything that could go wrong. Now, some of us were already employed and we're trying to get better jobs or different jobs. It's fine and it's legal. It's not that you can't tell your HR what you are doing, which means you have to find a way to leave your current job. It's important that you do not risk the bird in hand for the one in the two in the bush. So if you know that you need to go for an interview, it is preferable you get that day off. Whether you take a sick leave, you take a day off, or you take time off, whichever way, try to get that day off. The reason why I say this is this. I've had an interview in the afternoon before on the island, in Koi, and my office was in VI, and the interview was scheduled for the afternoon. It was that morning that my boss realized that he wanted to give me one crazy assignment, and he wanted it that same day. So during lunch, the interview was 3 o'clock. During lunch at 2, I jumped on the bike. In those days, bikes were moving freely between VI and Koi. I jumped on a bike straight to the interview center. But when I got there, they were not ready. They were wasting time. I did not want to leave the interview. But my boss is sending texts every 5 minutes. Where are you? Where are you? By the time I sat down before the panel, I was already discombobulated. I was scattered. because my phone was constantly vibrating. I can't put it off because my boss must not know that I put off my phone. So he's just wondering, why is this guy not picking his call? Where is he? He's sending text messages. He needs the assignment he has given me. And here I am trying to convince some people that I can do their job. So it was really very uncomfortable. It was very stressful. He put pressure on me, and I was not as coordinated as I would ordinarily have been for that interview.
All you need to do.
So it's extremely important that you ensure that if you're going for an interview during the day, try to get as much time as possible off so that you can arrive at that interview comfortable without unnecessary stress. If you are going for an interview in a place you've never been before, it's preferable you go there a day or so before so that you are familiar with the place, not that you get to the area of the interview and you now start looking for the office. And that can take time and you end up being late. So if you have never been to the venue of the interview before and you're not familiar with the area, go there a day before. Try to get a clear route map of where you are going so that when you're going on the day of the interview, you will not find yourself getting lost. Because when you get to the interview late, or you get lost trying to get there, or you have people pressuring you that you should return to your office, when you get to the interview, you are just not your best. You need to clear yourself, clear all these hindrances, and make sure that you are prepared to sit for the interview and get the job properly. So arriving late makes you flustered. It erodes your confidence and makes you appear disorganized. Even the people that are interviewing will know that this guy is not calm. There's something bugging him because you are just not at your best. So that's for timing. Next thing is your appearance. The way you are dressed will often determine how you are dressed. If it's an interview, you need to dress properly for it. And I will give you a personal experience. When I was applying for my second job, I think it was my first job then, I went for an interview in a bank. The role was supposed to be a front teller. It was a teller job, and they just asked people to come en masse. And we got there. Because I just finished NYSC, all my NYSC savings was spent buying just one suit. But that suit worked. I used it. It worked hard. I bought this suit, and as I was entering, they were directing me to the wrong place because they were also recruiting for some higher level, not tellers now, for full staff. Tellers were contract staff. Because of the way I was dressed, they directed me to the wrong place. And it was when I sat down there that they started asking for our invitation letter. And our own job is mass job. It's text that they sent to us. So I didn't have any invitation letter to tell them. That was when I told them that I came for the other interview. They now took me to the right place. Now, when I got to where the people that were supposed to be tellers were, they were all not dressed like me. So many of them were wearing shirt and trouser. And it got to a point, the interviewers were irritated that you're coming for an interview in a bank and you can't even wear a jacket. You can't even wear a tie. Some people have to come out to borrow shirt and tie to go back in to interview because they send them out. So I had to give somebody my shirt and my tie for him to go back inside. I can imagine I'm wearing a different color from him. So it seems like he just joined everything together. I'm not sure that guy got the job. So you need to dress appropriately for your interview. Now, you need to appear neat and clean. Look, your appearance is the first thing that people use to judge you. So if you are going for an interview, even before you open your mouth, your appearance is the first thing that they will use to form an opinion about you. And sometimes your appearance may not allow them to listen to what you are saying. What they are seeing may disturb what they are hearing. So make sure that what they are seeing makes them want to hear what you have to say. If you do, nobody cares whether you borrow the clothes. Just look the part that you are applying for. Now, in looking the parts, sometimes don't do an overkill. I've been asked to come to an interview in a factory before. I didn't go in a tie. I was wearing chinos and moccasins and a shirt and jackets. Because I know that when you go into a factory, if you go into a factory wearing suits, they will laugh at you that you don't know where you are. And truly that day, they told me to go through the factory and see their processes. Imagine if I went in with suit and tie. Nobody does that. In the factory, you don't go in there with a tie. It's just not, they will just look at that, who is this person? You don't fit in at all. Already you've done something wrong in that environment. So also understand where you are going and know what is ideal to wear in that environment. If a company has a casual dress code, it doesn't mean you should dress casually, but you may get away with wearing a jacket and a shirt without a tie. You may get away with wearing a dress instead of a pantsuit, and you will fit in more. You will look more like them and they will feel more comfortable talking to you because you won't look like you came for an interview. So it's a function of how much information you have. Just make sure you dress the part. The worst that you can do is overdress. Feel free to overdress, but do not underdress for any reason whatsoever. The only way you can go wrong is if you underdress. Dress appropriately for the part. Look sharp, and look like somebody that really deserves the job. Nobody cares where you got the clothes from. You can return it once you finish your interview. Next thing I want to talk about is your attitude. You have to be sociable. Being sociable makes people like you. Likability is extremely important when you go for an interview. Interview is really about connections. Sometimes you may not have the stuff for the job, but some people say, no, we can train him. He's trainable. Probably offer you lesser pay than not, they would not necessarily offer, but they will still take you because they like your personality. And one of the things that make people likable is when they smile. If you go for an interview like as if you are fighting with the people that are interviewing you, they too will fight with you. But have you noticed that when you smile at people, they tend to smile back? That's human nature. Smiles are infectious. So try to smile. Don't smile creepily. Don't start smiling in a creepy way. But at least try to smile a little. Don't let them insult you with your smile. But don't have a strong face. Have a pleasant outlook. Also, when people go for an interview, they think it's all business. Sometimes business interview is not about business. Sometimes it's about chit chat, small talk. You get to sit down with the panel and they ask, "How are you?" Don't start giving them your life story. How was the journey? How did you find this place easily? They want you to sit down. They want to make you comfortable so that you can talk freely. That free talk can become the chat of the interview. Believe me, I've been in interviews where it's just start asking the candidates. So you went to this school. Oh, I went to the same school. Do you know this person? We start having that conversation. Gradually, we move slowly into the crux of the subject. And at the end of the day, we swing back into a chit-chat mode, and that's how he lives. He has left a good impression because he has not come for a very formal, serious talk, because some interviews are not like that. I know HR directors who, when they want to interview senior people, they don't bring the people to the office. They'll tell them to meet them at the reception of a hotel, in a hotel lobby. They will order coffee or drinks. Sit down, let's talk. You are an Oga where you are coming from. Me too, I'm an Oga where you are coming. Let's talk Oga to Oga. Let's interview. They will just talk about high-level things. He just wants to know, because many times when they have seen your CV and they've seen what you have done or what you can do, they know that this guy can do the job. But the question is, do I like him? So let's sit down and talk. Let me even know who you are. It's not about I can see your competencies on paper. So sometimes the interview is not really about what you can do. It's about who you are. That's the person they want to meet. So if you find yourself going there now, frowning every time, thinking that everything is going to be serious, not able to relax, they will simply say this person will not fit into our environment, because certain environments are very casual. So prepare to have chit chat. In fact, your interview starts the minute you enter the reception. The way you address the receptionist, your interview has started. In fact, not even that. It starts when they called you that you have been chosen to come for an interview. I know somebody, this is a very good friend of mine, we were in school together. She had a guy who was disturbing her life, wanted to go out with her. So the guy was always calling her. In those days, you don't know how many people have phone or how many people have money to buy credits. You go to business center to call. So the guy calls with different numbers because he's always calling from one business center or the other. So on this fateful day, the phone rings and it was another one of those funny numbers. Yeah, hello, is this Bookie? And she simply goes over, what do you want? I've told you to leave me alone. Don't call me. Who's on the line? She had gone on and on and on before the person says, I'm calling you from XYZ company. Then she started to apologize that she thought it was somebody else. But the guy who was calling on the line had already got a wrong impression about her. He doesn't care that the guy had been frustrating her. What he knows is that he called a candidate and the candidate was rude and annoying on the phone. So when she came for the interview, Her interview was very short because he had given the panel feedback about her, and they had already concluded that we are not taking this person. So they just had 1 or 2 questions. Okay, we'll get back to you. She knew she didn't get the job, but of course she didn't get it. So your interview starts from the point when they call you to say you have been selected for an interview. So when you get into the reception, don't say I'm going to see your guys. The receptionist is the first person that you need to be friendly with. Smile, introduce yourself, say what you've come for. After you've done that, they will make you comfortable and all that, but you are already giving the right impression. If you find yourself sitting in the midst of other candidates, you are not at war with them. Just because you're all here to fight for the same job does not make you enemies. Please be sociable. Get names, exchange cards. People have met their spouses that way, by the way. Exchange cards. People get jobs that way. If you make friends and you didn't get the job, and you reach out to the person, did you get a job? I too did not get the job, but there's an opening in my company. Before you know it, that is networking. Discuss with them, make friends, ask questions. Just because you are competing for the same job does not make you enemies. Just keep that in mind. Now, when you get into an interview, whether with an individual or with a panel, they usually try to start with a casual conversation. And those topics can range from weather to what's happening in politics. Please be prepared to have these conversations. Don't say, I don't even know what's happening in Nigeria. All I'm doing is reading my book. All I'm doing is preparing for an interview or doing my work. You need to know what is happening in your country, and then in your own area, you need to know what is happening. Because these are the kind of conversation that they will have with you first. If they ask how was your journey getting here, and you said, I was even sleeping throughout, that's not a good answer. You need to be able to tell him the roads are bad if the roads are bad. And if the roads are good, tell him this is probably one of the best roads in Lagos. Did you guys contribute to fixing your road? And have a sense of humor about these things. Laugh if you have the opportunity to laugh. Smile. Interview is not do or die affair. You are not going to the judgment throne. This is not a judgment day. You are here to discuss. Try to be sociable. Don't act as if just ask me the question, I have the answer. No. Follow the pattern they follow. And if they ask you, if they start with questions, fire your answer. But make sure that you follow their pattern. Do not go there, be acting disappointed that they're chatting. Chat where they chat. Answer when they ask a question. But also recognize when the tone changes. If they are chatting and playing with you, once the tone gets serious, please get serious. Don't continue smiling and swiveling in your chair. Business has started. Note when the tone changes so that you can flow with them. Don't get carried away with the chit-chat. Okay, so let's talk about confidence. This is very, very important. It's an asset. Yeah, like I said, you are not going to face judgments. You are going for an interview. So try to be assertive. Try to be confident. Sometimes they will even try to shake you on what you are saying to see whether you really know what you are saying. Be confident, but be careful not to overdo it. There's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. Do not cross that line. Know that, stay on the facts, address the issues, but do not get to the point where you are perceived as arrogant. It's very, very important that they think you are somebody that is humble, trainable, and a good team player. And arrogance does not work in those kind of settings. It is possible that they will ask questions that you don't know the answers, and you may not get all the answers right. And they may even tell you that you are wrong. Do not wear it on your face. It is a measure of maturity. If you get an answer wrong, or if they tell you no, you are wrong, be matured enough to say, okay, maybe I should go and read up on it, or maybe I'm not well aware of this area. Be matured enough to admit if you are wrong, or if you don't have the right answers. It shows that you are aware of yourself. You do not think you are perfect, and showing disappointment when you are told that your answer is wrong actually shows that you cannot handle negative feedback. So maintain your smile. Okay, I will look at it, I will read into it and educate myself better in this matter. Maintain your confidence. Do not let it bring you down. It will happen. No matter how good you are, there will be questions you will not be able to answer. And if you are lucky and there are no questions you can't answer, fine. But if you find yourself in a situation where the questions are not going your way, try not to fumble around too much. admit when you think that you don't have the right answers, so that you don't end up ending an argument with them, trying to prove you know what you don't know. Now, you have to look at your interviewers in the face. I'm not saying look at them creepily. You have there's look, there's glare, there's stare, and then there's look. Look at the person that's asking you question. Don't look at your hand or look at the table. That's a sign of lack of confidence. It's a sign of inferiority complex. You are not their servants. You are here to offer them a service. Look them in the face when they ask you questions, even if it's not going your way. Live with your confidence. Live with your head held high, even if it's not going your way. It's very, very important. And remember, smile. Whichever way it goes, just smile. It's very important to show that you are confident and you can deal with the situation, whether it's positive or negative. Okay, so my time is now fast spent. Let's just go to content. So when I say content, it is the subject of the interview now, the crux of the interview. You have gone to the place, you have impressed them with your outlook, you have been polite, you have done the chit chats. Now the questions have started coming. It's time to now show them what you have. I start with a comment here, nemo dat quod non habet. What that means is what you do not have, you cannot give. It's a Latin maxim used in property law. What you don't have, you cannot give. So you must have what you are professing. There is nobody that can help you here. You are the only one that can help yourself. If you sit down in front of an interviewer and you are not able to answer his questions because you do not know the answers, you will not get the job. You need to prepare yourself for the interview, and not just for the interview, for your area of specialization. You must be good at what you do. You cannot be mediocre and expect to get good jobs. So this goes back to conversation that we should actually be having with young people when they're in school. Do not play with your school days. You may not use that method they're teaching you during the job, but you use it to get the job. There are several jobs I've gone to where they're asking me about IFRS as an accountant. International Financial Reporting Standard. What does IFRS X say? What does IFRS Y? I have never touched any of those IFRS because they're not applicable to Nigeria. But to get that job, you must show them that you know it. So what the things that you've learned in school, if you have forgotten them, please go back and read. You must know your stuff. You cannot give what you don't have. Get the job, and then you can now go and be doing research to how to deliver on the job. But to get through that interview, you must convince them that you know what you said you know. So read up on recent things happening in your area. If you're an engineer and there are new laws on safety and other things are coming up, you need to be aware of them. You can't go in there and say, sorry, it's new. Sorry, they didn't teach us when I was in school. It's not allowed. If you're an accountant and there are new financial regulations coming out and you're saying, sorry, I am not aware of this one, then that means you're not on top of your game. So you need to read up on it. Now, on the other point here says, speak good English. It is a given that we all speak English. At least we try. However, English is not a measure of intelligence. Neither is it a measure of competence. In fact, I've met some very brilliant men, especially in the technical area, who speak very terrible English, but deliver excellently on the job. Certain jobs will not give you an opportunity to do it until you speak good English. Please. It's just part of the perception thing. Remember I said, the way you are addressed is the way you will be addressed. So first of all, the first impression that you give is the way they see you. When they see you and they like what they are seeing, when you open your mouth, let it not be that they will change their perception. So try, even if it means you have to speak slowly, pick your words carefully, speak good English. Don't go there and start shooting at all of them. It's not a safe way to get a job. And finally, you should get ready for standard questions. There are certain questions that are bonuses. The first question they usually ask in most interviews is tell us about yourself. It's a bonus. They are telling you sell yourself. That's your first opportunity to get the job. You should have that answer written down somewhere. You should have learned it so well. Yeah.
Now, this thing you just mentioned now, I can assure you that this is one of the biggest problems that candidates face during interviews. Sometimes a lot of candidates get confused, in terms of tell us about yourself. Somebody is now saying that, okay, the name of my primary school is this, is located in this. I'm telling you the fact. It is that bad. And we're talking of professionals, MSc holders. I'm telling you, I've interviewed people and a lot of things, even not necessarily one-on-one physical interview. I'm talking of just send your CV or application. So how best can candidates actually answer this question? Tell me about yourself.
All right, so I've sat in several interview panels and there are different ways. The first thing is never take a formula. You are you. Stop trying to be somebody else. When they say, tell us about yourself, talk about you. Talk about it the way you know it. The first thing you want to do is start by introducing yourself again. Give them your full name if you have to, especially if you have an interesting name. Give them your full name. After you tell them your name, start from the latest information. For me now, if you ask me, I will tell you my name is Ayeneke Babatunde Oluwa. I'm a professional accountant and a finance leader. I've been in the industry for over 16 years and I specialize in performance management and business analysis. You have already given them who you are. You show them who you are and what you do. You now break it down. You go further. If you are currently working, you say, in my current role, I lead a team of X number of people where I do this. This is where I work. But prior to this experience, I have also worked in, you now work them backwards to all your work experience. When you finish talking about your work experience, you cannot go back and say, like I said, I'm a graduate of so place, mention your school, tell them what you graduated with. Now, if you don't have that much experience, it's fine. Still start by saying, this is who I am. I'm a graduate of this school. I have this X certificate in this place. I graduated with, especially when you have something to boast about. If you're a first class or second class student, second class or past student, then I graduated with 2-1 in this whatever. This is what I do. These are my hobbies. You go just arrange it in the right order. The way it is in your CV. The information in your CV is what you are giving them. You're just fleshing it up a bit. If it's a very mature panel, when you see if you are a mature candidate, somebody like myself or Bambi sitting in front of the panel, I will close it by telling them I'm married and my wife is a professional accountant too, and I have 2 very active young boys in the house. You know that kind of comments, they would, especially if somebody else has 2 boys there, they would just laugh. I know, I understand. That is how to make a connection. The objective of that question is sell yourself first before we even start trying to buy you. Put yourself on the market. So there is no standard answer, but make sure that you know yourself and you know what you do and you're able to articulate it. This is not something you form when they ask you. You write it down a day before in the right order that you want to say it. You don't cram it, but you know it. Because if you cram it and you forget, about yourself and you forget about yourself, it'll be hard to explain. So don't cram it, but know yourself. In fact, if you like, go through your CV. As you are telling them, tell it in the way it is in your CV. I'm a professional this, I graduated in this, I currently work, as I start working them through your CV, whatever. You are saying the facts, but avoid irrelevant information. The most important information about you is what they are interested in. They are interested in your competencies. So tell them why you are the person for their job. By telling them you are a graduate of this, you have the certificate that they need, you have the experience that they need. Those are things you dwell on. Don't go and start by telling them that your hobby is this or you went to this secondary. They don't want to know your secondary or primary school. They want to know your qualification for their job. So give them those informations first. When you give them all that information, you can now close it with something a bit personal, maybe a hobby or family or something. There's no one answer. And I always try to get people not to try and go and say, this is how to say it. Say it your own way. Try to be creative. And finally, Google is your friend. There are standard answers on Google, though I don't support standard answers. But if you go to Google, Google will give you an idea which you can now adjust to suit you. Okay? So, I was saying, get ready to answer the standard questions. The standard questions are very, very cheap. They help you to just sell yourself without even answering any technical question. Now, these are some of the standard questions. Tell us about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Look, you are not standing in front of the judgment throne. You don't have to tell them all the story of your life. when they say, what are your strengths and weaknesses? First of all, what are your strengths? You are not a superhero. Do not go and tell them I can do everything in this job from beginning to end. Find those traits that they themselves have put in the job description. Some jobs will tell you the incumbent has to be resilient, able to multitask, able to handle, prioritize, those kind of things. Those are the kind of things that you call your strengths too, so that they will know that you have what it takes to do that job. And when they say, what are your weaknesses, do not confess your sins. Do not go and tell them something that will make them say, I don't think this guy should be given this job. This is tell them that you are very poor, you are tempted by money or something. You just have to be careful what you say here. Do not confess your sin. Look for a weakness that is not true, that will not cost you the show.
This thing you just mentioned there, when they say, okay, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? I've seen in an interview session whereby somebody says that, I'm lazy to an extent. That guy, the funny thing is, he didn't really know why we were asking that question. Now, when he had left, we're now deliberating. We said, no, this guy is totally, he has finished himself. He was doing well initially. He was now saying, when he mentioned lazy, we just wrote him off totally. It's a key point there.
Remember I said, know when the interview turns serious. Once they have got to that serious level, do not joke. Do not be casual. Be intentional about your words. Once the interview gets to that serious level, do not be too casual. When somebody says to an interview panel or to say that I'm my default mode is lazy. Look, there are 4 personality types. Mine is phlegmatic. Phlegmatic is the default lazy mode. But I will never admit that. Like I said, don't go and confess all your sins. You push yourself. Find the one thing that you can call a weakness that you can sell as a strength. And there are many things you can say. Some people have weaknesses that they don't know are weaknesses. There are people that are very particular about how they do their things. If you go to their desk and touch something, you move their stapler, they will move it back to exactly where it was before. It's a personality. People don't like that kind of personality. It means you are so detailed that if anything changes in your work, you will become uncomfortable. It's a weakness. So you need to be able to use that kind of thing to say, I can be very, very detailed. And I found that it makes people uncomfortable around me. So I'm learning not to push my detailed personality on other people. I'm not changing my nature, but I'm trying not to project it on other people when we work. I accept other people's personality the way they are, and I don't use mine to judge them. You've already said something that shows that, yes, being overly detailed is a problem. Believe me, don't think it's a good thing. Being detailed is good, but being overly detailed can be a problem. So that's one thing. The other thing, you could say something like, I don't like working with people who are not aggressive. And I realize that not everybody is like me. So I am learning to deal with that so that I don't become a problem in any team. Already they know if you are truly an aggressive person. By the time you get to that stage of asking about that, they already know. Because you cannot hide your nature. You have showed it during the question that they were asking before. So telling them that you are a very aggressive person, they know. And they would have seen it as a weakness. So it is your opportunity to tell them, okay, that thing that you might have noticed that I've been doing since while I was talking, I'm actually working on it. So that they won't be afraid that this will not be too aggressive in the team. It is your opportunity to water down a perceived negative. Okay? So questions like, why should we hire you? Please, if you are going for any job, be ready to tell them. This is a question that they often ask. Why should we hire? It's like, tell us about yourself. It's an opportunity for you to sell yourself. You must be able to tell them, I am this, I am that, I am that. I am going to be the most committed person you ever have because I always deliver on any job I take. Get ready to have an answer. Never, when they ask this kind of question, you should not be blabbing around. You must have what you are ready to see. This is why I said research. Know what they want so that you can tell them what they want to hear. Okay? Why do you want to work here? If you have failed questions about the company in the first place, it will be hard to answer this one, which is why you should research very well. If you have mixed them up with their competition or their product up with their competition's product, it will be hard to answer this one. Because you have to have a good reason why you must know about them for you to want to work there. What are your goals? Be careful not to tell them that your goal is to move to the next big company once you get this job. Do not give them the impression that they are a pivot for you to get to the next best job. Your goals must be something that shows medium to long term that you are going to be with them, even if you know that you're planning to do just 1 year. You cannot afford to be too honest in these things. Your goal should not be too specific so that they won't be attacking it on your behalf. Try not to be too specific with your goals. So one of the things you could tell them about your goal is, if there's a professional standard that you want to achieve, okay, I'm aspiring to be maybe a black belt in project management, or so, set up some standards, or I aspire to be a finance leader, heading these functions, carrying this level of responsibility. Don't be overly specific so that they won't be able to help you target it properly. Why did you leave your last job? Even if they are devils, you must paint them as angels. Even if they are devils, this one is a standard rule. This one you can copy and paste. This one, go online and look for the answer. Why did you leave your answer? This one you don't need to be personal, because if you are personal, you tell them the truth, and you really don't want to tell them the truth. You leave some jobs because you have some horrible bosses. But you can't tell them your last boss was horrible. You can't tell them that the culture in the place was too bad. You don't want to say such things. You cannot paint your last employer bad. It's simply a cardinal sin in interview. Do not do it. Tell them something you had the opportunity to improve yourself, or you wanted to go and do a course, or you just find something positive to say. I know it's hard to say some positive about employers. Until you get the job, keep your opinion to yourself. Find something positive to say. Why do you want to leave your current job? Same thing. Do you have any questions for us? Please do not say no question. Another cardinal sin. Do you have any question for us? Is tell us what you are interested in knowing about our company. If you have truly researched them, you will have one question, even if it is a comment, not a question, an observation about their processes, or something you read about them online. It shows that you are interested enough to investigate the company. So make sure you answer that question properly, prepare for it. It's not something you figure out when you get there. It's something you prepare for before going for the interview. So I think this should be one of my final slides. Things that you should note. So if they ask you, do you have any question for us? Do not say, what will I be doing on this job? It's an absolute stupid question. They will simply ask you, don't you know what you applied for? So don't even go there. Don't say anything like that. Don't say, I can handle any situation. You are not a superhero. Admit that you will need to learn and deal with whatever it is that is brought to you. You can insist that you have the strength of character, the resilience to deal with situations, but don't just go and be arrogantly assuming you can do anything that they give you. It's a very dangerous attitude to have. How much will this job pay? You don't discuss money unless they discuss money. Do not ask them how much the job will pay. Let them be the one to say, how much do you expect? It's unprofessional for them to also ask you how much you are currently earning. But if they ask, if you want the job, I beg you, answer the question. However, in HR, we are hearing these days, it's actually unprofessional for companies to ask you how much you are currently earning, but they ask anyway, so please prepare to answer it and do not lie. Never speak negatively about your last or current employer. Sorry?
For some.
Family, you're breaking up. Can you hear me? Okay, let me go ahead. I hope everybody can still hear me.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. You have a question? Family, you're freezing. Okay, let me go ahead. So that we can finish up on time. We'll pick it up in the question section. So never speak negatively. Careful where you take credits. Use more of we, not I. What that really means is, as much as possible, when you are telling about the things you do in your current job, don't just always say, I did this, I did. I don't take all the credit, especially when you know you didn't do all the work alone. Use more of we, not I. I tends to show a certain level of arrogance or too much confidence. So Some use we, at least litter it with a few we's. Do not appear desperate or say things like, I need this job. They know you need the job is why you applied for it. Do not appear desperate. It just, first of all, it weakens your negotiation power. Two, it also waters down their impression of you. Don't blame your answers on nerves like, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous. It doesn't make you look human just because you admit that you're nervous. They know you are nervous. It's how you handle your nervousness that tells them that you have strong character and willpower. So don't think that you can use that, tell them I'm a little bit nervous is why I'm shaking. Don't shake. That just plan not to shake. That's the most important thing. They know you are nervous. Try to control your nerves. Don't drop names. Don't say I know this person, that person in your company, and also don't use their products, or don't tell them you don't use their products. If you are trying to get a job there, if you go to 9mobile and you want to get a job in 9mobile, please don't tell them that you don't use their network. If I were you, I'll go and buy one of their SIMs and put their number on your CV. Don't tell them you don't use their network if you go there. And don't tell any company you don't use their products. Find a way to identify with them, at least for until you get the job, and then they give you the feedback. And then never mix them up with their competitor. I already mentioned that. So, yeah, this is the last slide. Some post-interview tips after you finish interview and you've left. If you have access to them, send a thank you message, especially if they were very friendly or very casual with you. Send a thank you message to the recruiting manager or the recruiter, but only if they gave you freedom to do so. So if they say something like, okay, it's good meeting you, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. They have given you a blank check for you to do whatever. So you can send them a message, say, thank you, I enjoyed my interview with your organization, and I look forward to hearing from you. A thank you message can bring you back to mind, even if they have forgotten about it. So it's allowed to the extent that they gave you that access, not that you got their email from somebody. You don't desire to call them. Okay. There will probably be more interviews. Most interviews are in stages. So even once you finish the first stage, you need to learn what you didn't do right, what you didn't know, and get ready for the next stage. If they call you for the next stage, apply it. And if you didn't do well in that stage, or if you didn't do well in interview and you didn't get called back, don't beat yourself up. It's a learning experience. Take that experience and move on. Get ready for the next interview. So that's the last slide. At this point, I can open up for questions if there are any.
Yes, thank you so much, Tunde, for this. For those that came late, we have Babatunde Anyonleke. Babatunde Anyonleke is the current Chief Finance Officer of Biloxi. Biloxi is one of the foremost companies that manufacture Biloxi biscuits their factory is located at Agbara, very close to Unilever. And my own name is Bamidele Idris. I and Tunde have been friends for 25 years, right? Over 25 years. Yes. So, so Tunde has been talking on several topics, several tips on interview. And we have some questions here today. I've been bombarded with lots of questions. Now we have Omoshalewa Elugbuji. Omoshalewa Elugbuji says, I would like to know at what point to researching on the company is appropriate? Before applying for the job or after the confirmatory mail for the interview?
Well, it depends on the situation you are in. So sometimes you go looking for a job, the job doesn't come looking for you. And if you're going to look for a job, then you should know about the company you are trying to get into. That's probably how you find out that they have openings or they're the right place to work for. So in such cases, it's good to do your research early. However, if you have already been invited for an interview, you should really start doing that interview, that research immediately. But if you have not been invited and you are interested in the company, it's good to start following up, checking up on them, researching them. If you have the time, often you won't have the time unless you know that they are recruiting. But once you know they are recruiting, sometimes it's also good to research them at the point of applying, because many times they ask you for a cover letter. Now, since you have researched them, your cover letter can include some of the values that you found out about them in the things that you think you have to offer. So if you are using a cover letter, also if you have researched them and you know them well enough, there are things you can put in your CV that will indicate that you are the right person for the job. So if you have applied, if you're about to apply for the job, you can research a little to put the right content in your CV and cover letter. But once you have been invited, you must do a very detailed research to be able to answer interview questions. So it can be either, depending on your situation.
Okay, thank you so very much. I have TechnoSpark. The name is not there. How is what is English? What is the best way to answer a question like, what will you do if your line manager is trying to compromise the core values and it's known to you?
Okay, so you have to confront them with some facts too. Depending on the values of the organization, if the organization has a whistleblower system in place, then that is your first point of call to do a whistleblowing in the system, to the extent that that whistleblower system will protect your identity and not put you at the mercy of your line manager. So it's important that you confront them with that question too, that, well, the first thing is, does your organization have a reporting system that can protect your identity if you wish not to be identified as the one who leaked the information? Then there are certain things that you can't hide, especially if your line manager is making you participate in the act that you are trying to report. If you find that you are not able to deal with the situation, then you will also have to go to his own boss and report the situation. You answer ethically. In reality, wisdom is profitable. You answer ethically, but in reality, what you will do may be slightly different. But the most important thing is, do you have a whistleblower system, a reporting system where you can escalate when such situations occur? If they do, you will use it. If they don't, then you would find a senior manager who is your boss is accountable to, and secretly inform him of what is happening, so that you can free yourself from any obligations, or any consequences of the actions in the business. But every good business should have a whistleblower system.
Okay. Now I'm talking now for the Nigerian Society of Engineers.
Okay.
Now, for what opportunities are bound for engineers in Biloxi?
Well, so Biloxi is a manufacturing business. We've been in business for some 16 years now, producing biscuits in Nigeria, and we have a well-staffed engineering team. Our production is 24/7, so it means that we have engineers on ground around the clock, because we have several lines producing biscuits at any time during the day. So at the moment, I know we have a full team, but I'm also aware that there are expansion plans in the future which might result in us needing to bring people on board. But with COVID and everything that's happened this year, all those plans are on hold until the economy reboots. So at the moment, I'm not sure there are any openings in production, but I mean, we know how we connect, so if there are, definitely get jobs, we'll know about it.
Okay, thank you. We have more questions. Oluwafemi Adeoye says, I have been in interviews where the AC made me so uncomfortable. Please, what can one do in such case?
Well, you have to be wise. Check the environment first. Let me be very honest with you. AC has been used to make interviews faster in the past, and I am aware. Especially if it's not a job interview. For example, if some consultant that you don't want to meet comes to your office and it's just disturbing that you have to see, you crank up the AC to the coldest so that the meeting can be fast. 2, in certain environments, that temperature is their corporate culture. There are certain offices that the ACs are centrally controlled. especially if it's a very big office building. So the people that you are sitting with are probably just as cold as you are, but they know what it will take to correct the AC. The best thing to do is once you enter into their environment and you see how you are feeling, feel free to tell them, I am feeling a little bit cold with this AC. I don't know if it's within our powers to reduce it, to increase the temperature. Be candid. It's part of the things that show that you are confident. You are aware of your environment. See, if you go for an interview and they offer you coffee and you feel like drinking coffee, drink coffee. If they offer you water and you feel like drinking water, drink water. It shows that you are comfortable to sit in their midst, drink coffee, drink water. So if you are there and you are feeling cold, let them know you are cold. If they cannot control it, they will apologize and speed up your interview. If they can control it, they will bring out the remote. But it shows that you are confident enough to express how you are feeling. And it's important to show them these things because you don't know whether the office that you'll be working in will be that cold. Maybe that's not your job itself. It's better you start getting clear view of how they work in that place.
Okay, I have another person about being nervous. I've been asked this question, and my response was yes, but I'm fine. The HR then said it's fine. I understand. Do you want to take a minute? Said no. We are good to go. Should I have lied? Because it was obvious I was nervous because it's a big company.
Well, imagine if they had asked you to take a minute. What would that meeting minute have been? So have been one awkward minute. Either you step outside and calm yourself, or you sit down there and be looking at them and getting more uncomfortable. Either way, you should not have taken that minute. Listen, that's why I said you are not in front of the judgment room. Control this nervousness issue before you get into the interview. You are talking to humans. You may be desperate for the job, but the fact is you are talking to people. And your confidence is one of the things that gives you the job. So find a way to tell yourself. One of the things I do to myself is when I'm going for, you will be nervous. No matter how experienced you are, you will still be nervous. One of the things you do, you calm yourself, you speak slowly, you try to be firm and tell yourself you will do this correctly. You motivate yourself from inside. You speak to yourself and say, you are capable of doing this thing. You are not afraid. I don't know. You just have to find a way, find that toughness from inside you. Even if it's just for the next 20 minutes, you will not be afraid. You may be shaking, calm yourself and try to speak calmly. It's natural. Some people have stage fright. Other people, it's just natural for them. They don't like facing tough panels or things like that. Or you're just not experienced enough. Practice before you go for the interview. Practice with your friends. Practice your answers. That makes you more confident. The more confident you are, the less nervous you are when you sit in front of the
interview. Okay. I have Adedoyin Titi Lokpe.
Okay.
For that, how much you earn? I have an interview I attended last month, and they were asking for my pay slip from where I work, and I was of an opinion. Even if I earn 50,000, I can decide I want to earn 150, but didn't get the job because of that too.
Well, like I said, wisdom is profitable for exploits. If you want the job, give them what they want. Ethically is wrong. Professionally is wrong. But this is Nigeria, and many things don't go the way they're supposed to go. And since you know the environment you are in, if you want the job, it doesn't hurt you to give them your CV. Just tell them, this is what I expect. They will not come back and say, you want to jump from 50 to 150 is what I'm worth. Just because I've been underpaid by one employer, does not mean the next employer should underpay me. You tell them, you don't have to take the job. But, you should give them the pay slips if that's what they have asked for. You gradually will get to the point where laws in Nigeria will protect candidates from this kind of conduct.
Okay. Our time is
unprofessional according to international standards, but it is normal in Nigeria. Yeah.
Okay. Our time is fast spent, but I'll quickly take up a few more questions then that we round up, so that we allow you to go rest. When this question is from Afwakwe. She said, when you were talking about virtual interview, you said something about having good internet. Nigerian internet is poor. A situation where you're in a virtual interview and the network goes fiam. Has that disqualified you already?
Well, I actually have a friend who experienced this just 2 months ago. Before her interview, we sat down. She was home. We had a pre-interview where I assessed the environment where she was in, and I noticed that the environment was dark. So I told her, do not do this interview in your house. Find a more a well-lighted environment so that they would see you clearly and the ambience would be nice. But the place she went, it turned out the network was bad, and their network was bad, her network was bad. At the end of the day, she didn't get the job. And it's not because she didn't really get the opportunity to sell herself because the network was really very bad. And these are the challenges that we deal with in Nigeria. My advice to you is get the best internet you can get for the interview and have a backup internet because even the best are known to fail. But if the company wants to be reasonable, they understand the circumstances that we're dealing with in the country, they should give you a second chance. It's really their call. That company may have 50 people they need to talk to. So they will not, if they found another candidate that people can do the job, they will not bother to come back to you.
Okay.
It's just sad, but that's the reality.
Okay. Ngozi is saying that I would like to know how to prepare for a job interview where you don't have a specific job role you're called for. You're called for. Secondly, when the job description is not, yeah.
So that means you probably didn't apply or the company did not specify what they are applying for. So you go as who you are. So if you are an accountant, get ready, prepare for an accountant job. If they know what that company does and be prepared to answer questions in the area of their business. But they would usually call you for who you say you are. So if you are a marketing person, then you're likely going to be a sales and marketing job that they will offer you. If you are a fresh graduate, it's a graduate trainee role, then they will just want to know how smart you are. But if you're an experienced person, they will usually call you for what you are experienced in. So prepare for what you are and go and face them by who you. So if that brings something that's totally not in your way, you smartly try to answer as much as possible, but you have to take your chances and see how it goes.
Okay, I have 2 more questions, and I would take this. So, what role does desperation play in the interview of potentially good candidates? That's desperation on the part of the candidates.
Well, desperation waters down your marketability. First of all, if you are desperate for the job and they can see it, they will offer you anything. If you deserve 200,000, they can offer you 120 because they know you really want this job. 2, if you are desperate for the job, it can cause trust issues. This one that is so desperate, are we sure that if we give him this job, he will not go and he will be easily corruptible? Because your desperation means that you have a need for that job. Therefore, if your job, if they give you the job and your boss is corruptible, you will not be able to corrupt. You won't be able to stand. He will corrupt you because you don't want to lose the job. So they need people. So depending on the kind of company it is, you need to present yourself in a way that yes, you are desperate, but do not let them know. The minute you let them know, it affects your negotiation. It might also water down your desirability as a right candidate for that job. So avoid showing them desperation. No matter how desperate you are, you should not see it.
Okay. Now, someone is saying that does Biloxi have a working relationship with Nigerian Society of Engineers?
I do not know because I'm in finance, not engineering. But considering the fact that we have qualified engineers in our team, there's no way there won't be one form of relationship or the other. At least your members of the society will be, our staff will be members of the society. But whether the company itself has an underlying relationship wherein we do things with the society or we recruit through the society, I'm not aware. I wouldn't know.
Okay. So I have another question. This question is funny. Another is when they ask, do you have any question? I notice from my experience, if I ask if they allow employee to further their studies, perhaps you want to study more, they don't call you. Why?
Because they are looking for people that will come and work, not people that will come and develop themselves at their expense. It's unfortunate because your interest in developing yourself should be something that would make them interested in you. It's very unfortunate that that should be a problem. But it also tells you that
Okay.
those are probably not the kind of
Come on.
companies that you want. If you are somebody that is interested in developing yourself and they are uncomfortable with you developing yourself, then you've avoided the bullets by not working for them. That's the way I see it. So prepare yourself for the company that will support your dream of being better. The ideal company should be one that is ready to send you on training and support you to develop yourself.
Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. So I think we have some more questions, but we will not be able to take everything. So now I'm having some people chatting me and asking me for the slide. They need to get the slide. So
no problem. I will share it.
yeah, so
I'll send it to you.
okay. So for those who wish to get the slide of today's topic, just send me an email on hello@getjobs.ng. GETJOBS.ng. hello@getjobs.ng. So just send me and put the subject as today's session, winning interview slides. So for those who also, I see that some people complained about data, that their data went off, so they couldn't really continue with the complete session. Now, this session is being spooled live on YouTube. It's currently live on YouTube. So once you get to a place that you can get free Wi-Fi, you can connect to our YouTube channel to link up with all our trainings. Everything is on YouTube. All our trainings are on YouTube, and also we have our Facebook channel where we share them some of our sessions. And we also have someone just sent something now. We have okay. I'm not saying that they should not support me. I'm the one who wants to support myself, but they will ignore you. Today you heard that one.
It's true. So keep your plans to yourself. If that's the case, keep your plans to yourself. Focus on what they want to do. You know, I told you this interview thing is really not about whether you can do the job or not. It's whether they like you. Before the fact that they invited you for the interview, there's already an indication that you can do the job. You just come and convince them that they like that you are likable, you are sociable, you are the kind of person that can fit into their environment. So talk about them, tell them what they want to hear. Keep your plan to yourself. I've said it. Even if you are planning to do 1 year, give them a 5-year plan. That this is what I want to be in your company in the next 5 years. You know what you want to do. Keep your plan to yourself.
Yes. And I know a lot of people would love to get in touch with you, probably for mentorship, for networking purposes. And I don't know, maybe you can share your email address for people that want to get in touch with you.
It's tunde_anyoleke@yahoo.com. You can drop it in the group
in the chat
when you drop the presentation.
Tunde_anyoleke@yahoo.com. At yahoo.com. Yes, I've sent it. For those who wish to get in touch with Tunde of Veloxy, Tunde_anyoleke@yahoo.com. That's the email address. Okay, I think I sent it to. Okay, let me resend it. I sent it personally to someone. Then another question I have for you is, right now, I know COVID is actually eating and biting hard in the economy right now. And I know we have, for instance, for Nigeria Society of Engineers, we are actually collating the list of members for our Ikeja branch. And I observed out of 42 members that have registered, do you know that almost 50% are unemployed? You see, it is staggering. That figure is staggering. And the whole idea of Get Jobs is connecting employers and employees. And I don't know, what can we do? Now, how can we fit in these people into different organizations? How can we support them? How can we help them? According to the Yoruba parlance, there's this slang we say now, Igboro Rerin. That's what we say, Igboro
Town
Rerin.
is not
So
smiling.
yes, it's the country right now is not smiling with the spate of recession,
Yeah.
the increase in dollar, the forex catastrophe. It's a whole lot, and Get Jobs is trying its own part to try and fit in these people. So, what do you think we can do? How do you think we can help these people?
Well, I really commend you for the passion you have for helping people, especially with the way things are in this country. I have to say that it's unfortunate that our government does not see things from this perspective. I've heard of several CBN palliatives in the hundreds of millions of naira that were released. Yet I do not know anybody personally who has received any form of help, any business personally that has received any form of help. And it's just unfortunate that that's the kind of structure that our government runs, where only a few connected people get to share the palliatives that the government has. And what can we really do in this situation? Let me be very candid with you. Companies are laying off people. The people that are unemployed, the companies that laid them off is because those companies we're going to go under if they try to continue to pay people salaries in this economy. I'll tell you what happened in Biloxi. The business took a decision to take a salary reduction to reduce the number of people that will lay off so that we won't lay
Wow,
people off. And when the economy
wow,
started coming back gradually after the lockdown, because we sell biscuits, children eat
wow.
our biscuits. When children are at home, we're not producing.
Yes.
So how do we
Hmm.
continue to pay salaries during this period? So we took salary reduction first.
Hmm.
And then after taking salary reduction, we still had to lay off some people. But
Hmm.
immediately we started producing, we called those people back first.
Hmm.
And now some of those people have resumed. But the
Hmm.
salary reduction has not yet been removed. And this is what many companies are doing. Even the banks that are making money are still reducing their
Mm-hmm.
staff salaries.
Mm-hmm.
So it's terrible, but that's the situation we found ourselves. What I can say is that I do not think help is coming. There's no Calvary that's coming to save us. Everyone who is unemployed today needs to start finding what else can they do for themselves and stop.
Hmm.
I know it's not easy, and I know they are not sitting down waiting, but they have to
Hmm.
keep trying. They
Hmm.
cannot afford to give up. Just as you are trying to connect people, I would be
Hmm.
deceiving you if I said I have sent CVs to Biloxi, because
Hmm.
as it is right now, there are still some staff on Biloxi's list who were laid off that we must bring back first
Wow.
before we employ anybody. That's the principle of the company.
Hmm.
Our
Hmm.
people first.
Yeah.
And then we are planning to expand. There's a machine that we should have brought in, a whole production line that we should have brought in since June last year. But immediately
Wow.
the lockdown started, even the vendor of the machine in Italy is angry with us because they have finished producing the machine. We have
Wow.
refused to take it. We are supposed
Wow.
to employ people when we bring that machine in. But we can't even bring the machine because it does not make sense. Now the dollar has
Wow.
devalued. So that machine has
Wow.
become more expensive without
Yes.
producing anything.
Wow.
It's a crazy obligation placed on the company. And this is what many companies are dealing with because we have an
Hmm.
insensitive administration in power who don't know how to alleviate the sufferings of the people. So I commend you again for what you're doing. And I encourage people that are struggling, hang in there.
Hmm.
Better times are coming. This too
Hmm.
shall pass. It is the person that survives today that
Hmm.
sees tomorrow. So survive
Yeah.
today, one day at
Yeah.
a time. Do what you can
Yes.
to survive in the meantime. Hopefully, by next year, things will get better.
Hmm. And next year, today is 6th of December, and I know,
Yes.
like you said, a lot of companies have laid off their staff. So even the few companies that are operating now are really struggling. Forex, like you said. However, the word of encouragement I think I would love to churn out there for people that are still unemployed is that now you need to look inwards in the sense that there is an inherent talent that is in you that you need to tap into. Now, whilst you are applying for job, because job is not, it is a part of your success. Also, the inherent talents that you have, you need to look inwards. For instance, I know someone that was at home for about 2 years and he just started doing disc joking. He was doing DJ in the house, and before you know it, he started to earn a living out of it. We have people that are talented with cooking. In fact, as I'm talking to you right now, I need a cook at Victoria Island. And the people that are even applying, and because I'm the one recruiting directly for the 2-star hotel in VI, the people that are applying are people that don't have anything to do with cooking in terms of their basic education. I see engineers applying for cook right now, so it's all about inherent talent. So I've been there, and that's the whole passion by which Get Job was established, because I've passed through the issue of unemployment before. I know what it means. So please, for those that are unemployed, stay in there. It is not the end of the world. Something is going to come out at the end of the tunnel. There's a bright light there. So look inwards. There's something that you can start. You don't need money. Like Tunde, I know you say, Pastor Sam, idea rules the world. You remember that book? Idea rules the world. It is your idea.
Ideas rule the world.
Yes, it is not your money. Because people will say that before I start a business, I don't have capital. Yes, that's the normal language. So you do not really need the capital. It is the idea that you need. So please look inwards, and please, I have someone that is raising up his hand. ETO, you can ask your question. I think I will use this one to wrap up.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Go ahead.
Hello. Are you there?
Might be network.
Yes.
You can't trust these networks.
Okay. Are you there, ETO?
You can type your message. You can't speak.
That's my chairman, sir. Mr. Bamidele, that's my chairman, sir.
Oh.
That is the chairman of Ikeja branch, ETO. That is Engineer Tosi Ogumola, sir.
Engineer Tosi Ogumola. Can you imagine? I didn't even know it was him. That's the today. That's the chairman for Nigerian Society of Engineers Ikeja branch. Engineer Tosi Ogumola. I didn't even know it was him.
Thank you for joining, sir.
Perhaps he lost.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Good evening, chairman.
Thank you so very much, sir. I want to really appreciate Mr. Tunde Ayonleke for this very interesting, instructive, and quite elucidating session. We are indeed grateful. One thing that came to mind in the course of the session is, again, it's important that we understand as part of the challenges we are facing as a nation is the fact that most of our graduates are not, I think more and more is happening that our graduates are not exactly being prepared for the industry. And this is one of the reasons why we have actually partnered with Get Jobs to bridge the gap to a large extent by having sessions like this that will ensure that indeed qualified candidates and who actually mean business are supported with the necessary
your mic just went off.
In terms of preparation of their CVs, preparation, to attend and every other thing required, the soft skills, they can secure the best of jobs that they qualify for. So we sincerely appreciate you, sir, for making out time to really support us in this regard. And we cannot thank Engineer Bamidele Idris enough for all that he continues to do in this space. So we really appreciate. I've actually put forward some of the questions that you have answered in the course of the session, and you have actually done good justice to them. So why I'm actually raising my hand to speak is to say a very big thank you to you facilitating this session. And I'm saying this on behalf of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Ikeja branch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It has been my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
We
sure
look forward to
that
having more of you.
yes.
Look forward to that too, sir.
We would love to pay you a visit. I know my chairman will link up with you since he has your email address now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Sure.
that's very correct, sir. Yes, so we're putting forward a request for both a courtesy visit and an industrial visit to Biloxi.
That will be fine. I'm sure we can make it work.
Again this year, but we might be looking at least in the first quarter of next year. But we'll put the letter forward as quickly as possible. So at your hand, you can as well prepare and plan towards receiving us in due course.
I'm sure that will be fine. We'll make it work. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much, my chairman, for the words of encouragement. So this is 7:54. That is approximately 2 hours. We commenced this session, and I think it actually hit the nail on the head. A lot of people are telling me right now that a lot of questions that they were really bothered about have been answered. And for those that missed this session, go to YouTube, Get Jobs. I'm going to send the video on the Nigerian Society of Engineers, how to reach us for all these other videos. So today you're going to be seeing your video on our YouTube channel also. And yes, so for all those job vacancies, I will disturb you I'll come and meet you at home. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much and have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.
Good luck with your interviews.
Yeah. Bye-bye.